The Washington Redskins and their merry band of walking wounded marched their way into CenturyLink Field in Seattle for a tough matchup with the Seahawks. We'll do our best to preview the matchup. That's next on the Hogsty.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
And we are back with another episode of the Hogsty. I am Steve Thomas. I am not Sean Conti, who is having technical issues today and will not be able to join us. But fortunately, we have our other regular crew, including Jamal. How are you today, Jamal?
I'm doing all right. I cannot complain, sir. How are you doing?
I'm very unhappy that we scheduled this episode right in the middle of the World Series. My Dodgers are currently losing, so maybe it's probably better that I probably do the show. Don't worry about them.
Well, look, no, I mean, we can make it quick, man. Just make it quick and efficient.
There we go.
And the other voice you heard, of course, was that of Alex Zeese. How are you, Alex?
I am doing all right. I mean, of course I could complain, because you know me, I love to complain, but I'm not going to complain.
Honestly, complaining is one of my favorite things.
I know.
I love to complain and be
we
a
disagree about a
contrarian.
lot, but we both love to bitch about things.
Yeah, that's true. We love to do that, and I love to be a contrarian. It's my favorite thing in the world. If I can do the opposite of what everybody wants me to do, that's just ecstasy.
Right.
Well, another thing that's currently going the opposite of the way we'd want it to go, of course, is the Redskins, who are coming off 2 losses in a row, and more importantly, they have just the largest injury list you could ever possibly imagine, to the point where Jay Gruden actually said in a presser early in the week that he literally did not have a left tackle and enough linemen to conduct practice. That's how bad it is, folks.
Right.
So let's start off with, since it's a big story, and let's just go over the injuries. Alex, do you have the list in front of you, or you want me to do it?
I have the current list of guys who didn't participate in stuff today.
Okay, I have the whole thing here.
Okay.
This is the official injury list as of Wednesday night, which is the day that we're recording this. It has 21 people on it, which, if you do your math, is about 40% of the rosters on the injury list. So
remember, there's technically 24 or 25 if you want to count a long snapper starters on a team.
Okay, injuries. Did not practice Wednesday. Zach Brown back. Jamison Crowder hamstring. Matt Ioannidis hand. Sean Laval. Spencer Long. Tyan Secchi. Niles Paul. Jordan Reed. Brandon Scherf. Trent Williams. All did not practice at all. Bashad Breeland. Rob Kelly. Monte Nicholson. Martrell Spate are all limited practice. And those who are on the list but did practice fully include T.J. Clemens, Will Compton, DeShazier Everett, Ryan Kerrigan, Morgan Moses, Josh Norman, and Terrell Pryor. Everybody take a breath.
Yeah. Did you get Crowder on there? I think he was.
I did. Crowder has a hamstring.
Yeah.
He's a serious problem. Let's start with offense here and just talk about the O-line because, for example, on that injury list of the DNPs included 4 of our 5 starters.
Right.
So, and Morgan Moses has 2 sprained ankles. So
Right.
let's start there and let's talk about what we think the O-line is, how the O-line is going to do, and how they are going to match up with the Seattle Seahawks defensive lines. Anybody have thoughts?
Well, it's going to be a tough one considering that the Seahawks, if they do one thing really well on that line, it's the interior pressure. And, the starters on the interior are all on the injured list. The only healthy guy is Moses with the 2 sprained ankles, like you said. So I'm worried because I think if you go back and watch the game last week, that shootout that Seattle had, a lot of the Houston Texans' points and stuff came off of rollouts and having to scramble and get outside the pocket for extra time. I don't know if we have the line who can hold up for Kirk to do that.
That's a good point. But I think also, even in this, now before I say this, I haven't seen us do it. So this ain't me saying that this is going to happen. But I think one of the ways to counter or to have that happen for us is to design plays in which the offensive line is I should say, the quarterback is moving outside the pocket. So a lot of bootlegs or a lot of rollouts, in which the quarterback is on the move. So that would be one thing. I haven't seen it very often, like in a design set or design play. So I understand what you're saying, but I think if they do see that as a potential weakness or a potential exploit of the Seahawks defense, then that's definitely something they will implement this Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that the leading sacker on the Seahawks is Michael Bennett, who is an interior player. He has 5.5 sacks. He's their leading sacker. And the controversy with him aside, all the nonsense, yeah, he's a very good player, and I think that plays into exactly what you're saying, Alex, which is, interior pressure. So to me, yes, we do the design rollouts, and Kirk can actually do those fairly well in the very limited opportunity that he has, and I think we have personnel that can play into that a little bit in Chris Thompson if if Seattle isn't smart enough to just try to take him out of the game. But the other thing is, this is a classic West Coast offense game in that respect. You can't do a lot of 5 and 7 drop.
No, and we haven't been
drops.
really producing on those anyway all season, as we know.
Right. Yeah, because we don't go downfield well. But, when you have a shaky offensive line against a defense like Seattle, you're talking about instantaneous, quick strikes, even when he's in the pocket. 3-step drop, read, go kind of things. Now, so that's offensive line. And now I think, who do we think the starters are even going to be? I mean, I'm assuming TJ Clemens, if he's healthy, is the left tackle.
Yeah.
Laval didn't practice today, which surprised me a little bit.
But he's listed with a stinger. Now,
yeah.
Do you know offhand, is it like an arm thing or a leg thing? Because
I don't.
Usually
that's
stinger
all
can
they
be
listed
anything, right?
When I think a stinger, I think an arm, but that's me.
Yeah, I think
Jamal,
arm or
do you have
neck,
any
right?
I was just about to say arm and neck. Same thing Alex said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's worrying.
I mean, I don't know what to think about it, and we really don't have any other information on it other than he didn't practice. Now, it's only Wednesday as we record this, so, a lot of times these guys will, practice later in the week to some extent. But point is, so we're looking at TJ Clemens, we're looking at hopefully Sean Laval. Center is absolutely going to be Rouillet.
Yeah, Chase.
Again, very likely. Yeah.
Which, by the way, did a pretty good job last week for Dallas. I think he might be a pretty good find for us as a lineman.
Yeah, I thought he had a couple missteps here and there, but I mean that's to be expected.
Yeah, for
a
6th round pick,
Yeah.
I think what's unfortunate is that though, if we had some type of decency on this offensive line in terms of just health, like if Ty Secchi was here and he was healthy, we would have him at left tackle. Or excuse me, Spencer Long, and Ty Secchi, Spencer Long as center, or Spencer Long at guard, and we can have Chase Rouillet at his natural position, whatever one is more comfortable to him, as opposed to this makeshift offensive line that we have now. And because I think Catalina was playing as well, right?
Catalina was playing at left tackle, and he's really a guard.
Right,
Yeah,
so
so
he'll probably be filling in for Scherf.
Well, as a matter of fact, Gruden actually said that Catalina never played left guard in his entire life.
So
yeah.
So it's just wild because even if we had backups playing, we will be in a much better position offensively than we are now. But we don't even have backups playing. We have backups to the backups playing. So it's just wild.
Yeah, and the other thing about that is it's a real shame in this situation that Brandon Scherf is hurt, because Scherf is a guy who you could kick out to tackle if we had to, because people forget because he's he's a Pro Bowl guard, but he was drafted as a tackle.
Yeah.
I
mean,
to be the right
if we
tackle.
could kick him out to cover for Morgan Moses while Moses heals up, that would have been nice, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's just too early to tell. He's got a knee problem. He's got a sprained knee. I mean, Gruden was talking last week about, bracing him up, and, it just didn't work. So we'll see. So that's kind of injuries, at least on the offensive front. But
do you guys think any of these guys who are on the hurt list, other than maybe Laval, could make it back this week?
You talking about just offensive line?
Yeah. So the 5 guys are Laval, Long, Williams, Ty Nasecki and Brandon Scherf? Do you think any of them could make it this week?
I think
Well, I think
Trent
we
can,
could.
honestly,
Yeah.
but I think what they're doing with Trent, I think what they're doing is they're saying if we can win a game or two without him having to play, and if we can, then he probably comes back. But if we can't, they're probably just like, all right, you're done for the season, something like that, something to that effect.
Honestly, I really think that they're trying to eke Trent through until Ty Nseki's ready. That's what I think is going on here. But I think we can safely eliminate, to answer your question, we can safely eliminate Ty. If it just appears as though Ty's not ready, he's not practicing, it's not going to be this week for Ty. So I think if you gave Jay Gruden truth serum, what he's really thinking is if Trent can tough it out for another week or two, we get Ty back, and then Ty is basically the starter for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but Trent can't really tough it out either at this point without doing long-term damage.
I don't know if we know that. I don't know if we know that, though. Do we really know that? I mean,
it got reported that doctors said if he plays, it could destroy his career, and
that would be bad.
Yeah.
We wouldn't like that.
I would rather be ultra precautionary with a franchise left tackle like that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about let's stay on offense here, but let's talk a little bit about how the Washington running game matches up with the Seahawks, because the reason why I say that is if the Seattle Seahawks defense has a weakness, it's probably running. It's probably run defense. I mean, they're 26th in the NFL in rushing yards per attempt, 17th in passing yards, or total rushing yards rather. They're a lot better just statistically against the pass. For obvious reasons, they've got
even after last week's
guys.
game.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of an exception. But the problem is, of course, if they're more susceptible to the run, our running game is just atrocious right now.
And Kelly's still hurt. We got rid of Brown, and he got who picked him up? I saw somebody picked him up.
Minnesota did. We're going to see him in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so that's no good. You say maybe this is a week you run the ball, but I don't see...
No, that's not really what I was saying. What I was saying is Seattle has that weakness. If they have a weakness, they have it, but I'm not sure we match up well with that weakness. That's my point.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I don't, because I think we know Thompson really can't be an every down running back. Like, using him how we use him is great, but you don't give him the ball 15 times.
Yeah. What do you think, Jamal? That was a groan. Can you? It's not going to be good. I can tell.
I'm just trying to, because it's like I would rather say something like positive, if I can say that. I would like to say something positive, but I mean, at the end of the day, I do think. I mean, you're right. Like, it's when it comes to Thompson, I believe Thompson can get the ball 15 to 20 times, but it's just not in our best interest, nor is it in Chris Thompson's best interest. Because you want to use him in so many different ways, and you want him to stay fresh. You don't have to, not fresh, but you want him to give him his maximum effort each and single rep that he gets. So it's just hard because Rob Kelly he's not a dynamic back. He's okay. He's not dynamic, and then you got Samaje Perine. You would have had Mac Brown available. I would say, but you had to let him go, and it was fair. Like, you needed the offensive line help, so it's just hard. And then on top of that, the offensive line is not really doing much in the run game. Even though we ran the ball more prior to these last two games. Even though we ran the ball more this year, and we're more balanced. You're going against a team who's very good at stopping the run, and you're going to have another game where you struggle. So it's going to be bad.
I mean, yes, they're good at stopping the run, but I do believe that at least statistically, that's the thing they do. They don't do that as well. Let's say it like that. I mean, if we had a running game like, I don't know, Kansas City, say, I'd be running it down their throats.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly, we're going to get to Seattle offense, too, and there's a reason for that also. But, I mean, if you give me truth serum, I would have frankly cut Samaje Perine over Mac Brown. I mean, I know they're not going to do that because he's a draft pick, but I think Mac Brown's a better back, if you ask me. So what we're telling you, though, is although it would be nice if we could run against Seattle, use a run game effectively against Seattle, it may not be in the cards for this offense right now. And people forget, of course, that we weren't running the ball well when our offensive line was healthy, much less now that we've got a bunch of, whoever's in for us.
I have one more thought on the run game real quick, and that is that the one thing that we've done well all season is the little trick run kind of plays, the Crowder coming around,
like the jet sweep.
Yeah, the jet sweep, the delayed handoffs to Thompson from time to time. That's where we've had our best runs, and I think you got to stick with it.
You can't live on those.
No, you can't live on them, but you sure as hell need to do them a lot more than just, hey, let's hand it to a guy and see if he can get a yard running right into a pile that's being pushed back into him. That's not working at all.
They have to. They just have to run a little bit like that, though. We have to get some positive yardage long term out of the running game. Running, on our sort of bread and butter inside zone stuff. If they're going to be successful.
I'm talking more the inside power stuff that we also do a lot of. That's been a big problem. The inside zone has been successful, at least on occasion.
Here and there. Yeah. Well, let's talk about how the Redskins passing game matches up with the Seattle defense. Because Seattle obviously has the big names back there in the secondary. They've got Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, all these guys back there who everybody knows. The $1 million question has always been wide receivers for us, and now we have Jamison Crowder hurt with a hamstring. There's no telling how hurt he is. So, what is the game plan here for the Redskins against the Seattle pass defense?
Well, and I think the even bigger question is, what do you do if Jordan Reed and Niles Paul are still out?
Niles Paul is going to be out.
Yeah.
Guys need to get used to it. He's in concussion protocol.
Yeah.
He's going to be out.
Well,
I'd bet the house on that. Considering how woozy he was.
Yeah. Yeah, he took a pretty hard hit. So I guess that means Sprinkle, which, I'm a fan of, frankly. I think we need a bigger blocking tight end anyway. Rather than a bunch of guys who are playing wide receiver now playing fullback.
Well, and more to the point, they're not going to have a choice. Sprinkle's going to have to step up. They're going to have to. I don't know if he's really ready to be an H-back, but we've all said good things about Sprinkle at various times. He's young and developing, but he's going to have to step up into that inline tight end role to a certain extent because it can't just be Vernon Davis.
No, I think you're going to need, because we all know Gruden loves running out of the 11 formation.
Yeah.
And the 12 formation. And if we don't have a good tight end, that takes away about half of our offense. Or our second tight end, not just one good tight end. So, I think Sprinkle will be key if he can go, and maybe that's the key to the run game, frankly, is finally having in somebody playing tight end who actually blocks.
I don't know if that's Sprinkle, though. Sprinkle's got the size for it. What do you think, Jamal?
I think he's from only thing I can do is go off preseason and training camp, and I can say then that he's been okay. He's developing. He's not the developed run blocker that he was in college. But the only thing that I say about the games today and the regular season is that it's just so it's going to be hard to judge Jeremy Sprinkle because his O-line is just not good at run blocking already. Even with the backups in, they're not that dominant in the ground game. So it will be difficult to see how Jeremy Sprinkle fares with this offensive line, because eventually he's going to have assignments where they tell him who he has to block maybe, or he may have to do a double team with a tackle, left tackle or right tackle, wherever he's lined up on the field, or he may have to do one with Jordan Reed. And you just never know how it works, because we've seen what happens when Vernon Davis and Jordan Reed had blocking assignments. They whipped a lot, and those
two guys missed blocking day at tight end school. They just can't do it.
Yeah.
And this is why I think Niles Paul is a bigger loss than maybe people realize, because he's not putting up numbers. But this dude is the one that can block, or was.
I think he can block sometimes, but I don't think he was
Of
ever
the-
well suited
of the
for that
four of
HVAC
those
role.
guys.
Yeah.
Of the four of those guys, he's it. That's my point. Well, I want to give you guys out there a little bit of Seattle numbers, defensive numbers. They're fourth in points surrendered, 13th in total yards, 17th in yards per game surrendered, 8th in passing yards per attempt, 9th in passing yards, and then, as I said, 26th in rushing yards per attempt. So you can see how statistically they're better against the pass, in spite of the fact that they've been in a bunch of shootouts recently with these teams. Even despite that, they still are doing well in passing. They have a lot of interceptions. They've got 8 interceptions on the year. They're great in the red zone. Red zone defense, outstanding. It's they're third in the NFL in red zone defense. 35.29% of drives have gone for touchdowns.
I didn't realize that. I mean,
yeah,
living on the East Coast, you just don't watch a lot of Seattle. So
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not unexpected, is it? I mean, this isn't quite the Seattle defense of the Super Bowl years, but this is still a top quality Seattle defense. And listen, I mean, the Redskins aren't going to be able to win this game with reliance just on Chris Thompson and Vernon Davis and a beat up offensive line.
it's not. You're not going to win this with a bunch of screens.
They really aren't. I mean, this is a game truly when these wide receivers, whoever's out there, they're going to have to step up. Kirk Cousins, more importantly, I know we get tired of talking about him, but he's going to have to take some chances this week. He's going to have to try to throw the ball into some tight windows, and if it goes incomplete or intercepted, so be it.
I mean, I agree. I agree completely. I was actually just about to say that before you pulled up the receivers. I think that this is a game where, I mean, even playmakers, it's going to have to be plays made from every single person on this offense. It's not, and we talk about the injuries, and I actually tweeted earlier, like, it's not, everybody gets injured. Every team gets injured. You have about 20 injuries per team, but it's not the amount of injuries, it's who's injured. So with us, we have a lot of key guys hurt, but that does not excuse the fact that we are going to have to get the people who are healthy and who are counted on this season as key contributors. We're going to need them to make plays. If they're on the field, they're going to have to make plays and step up for the people who aren't considered, who rarely gets even playing time anywhere else. Like the people that we have playing now, offensive line, you're not really getting much time anywhere else. We just need you right now because we don't have anyone else to play for us. So I just think that the receivers are going to have to make some plays. Kirk Cousins is definitely going to have to elevate his game. A lot of people think that he can't do it. I mean, we've yet to see it in a consistent capacity. And this is just one of those games where you're going to have to expect more from Cousins. I don't know what the weather's going to be like. Because that was an excuse.
It's going to be dank and drizzly.
Seattle.
Yeah, that was an excuse last week.
A nice Seattle day.
Yeah, exactly. That was an excuse for him last week. That they used. That was an excuse for him. So, I mean, he's going to have to elevate his game, and especially if you want to make the playoffs this year, this game is riding on that. Well,
the only thing I'll say about the receivers is, I think this is a game where you have to take Terrell Pryor and Josh Doctson aside and say, listen. This is one of the most physical defensive secondaries in the league. You guys got to punch them back. Like if they come, they're going to play you physical. Throw them around too a little bit because that's probably the best way to counter what Seattle wants to do.
Well, Terrell Pryor's big enough; he ought to be able to do that. But I really think that this falls on Kirk Cousins to a large extent because. Yes, I mean, Terrell Pryor's disappointed. Yes, Josh Doxson's disappeared. But if you look at their targets, they're not getting the targets either. They're not getting the ball thrown their way. And let's just say this about Cousins. I mean, he's got, this is an earth-shattering here, but, he's passed for a lot of yards. He has a very high completion percentage, one of the highest in NFL history. But the reason he does that is because of all the checkdowns. I mean, top guys like Tom Brady don't have quite as high of completion percentage. It's because they go downfield more. He's just going to have to suck up, maybe having his stats take a beating a little bit and take some chances and go downfield against this defense because it's really the only way. I mean, if we can't run on them, they're going to have some other. I think Pete Carroll's too smart to just let Chris Thompson beat him.
Yeah,
So.
I'm with you.
All right. Do we want to move on to defense? I think we've beaten offense into the ground. Okay, quick. Pop quiz. Oh, by the way, but before we move on, I got to start with my, my Free Maurice Harris, hashtag Free Maurice Harris campaign. Because we seem to be making some pretty good headway on Twitter on this thing. And, there is no reason on God's green earth why at this point this guy shouldn't get a shot. He showed potential. I know Jamal likes him too. I know Alex likes him. There's no reason why Maurice Harris shouldn't be given a shot. So, for God's sakes, free Maurice Harris. And I think the funny thing about this is I put a Twitter poll up that said, should Maurice Harris get time on the active roster? And your only choices were yes and yes. And it's gotten at the last I checked, it was almost at 190 votes over just a few hours. So,
which is winning.
Yeah, which is winning because that's about what our normal polls.
Votes.
Something like that, yeah, and the only options are yes and yes. So, I think it's funny that it's getting as much traction as an actual poll because I was really making a joke out of it. But, hashtag free Maurice Harris. So, let's keep that going, folks. But defense. So, I'd like to ask you guys a question. What is the one thing that we should be scared of with regard to Seattle's offense, 2017 offense? There you go. There you go. Russell Wilson. This guy, it's because they physically can't run it. Their leading rusher is Chris Carson, who's on IR, with 208 yards. If you guys have watched Seattle recently in the past couple weeks, you've seen that Wilson's gone crazy. He's passing for over 400 yards. He is the team right now, basically. He's the team. Yep. And I'll turn it over to you guys here, but I want to throw one stat out about him. He's passed for 2,008 yards on the season, which is 6th in the NFL. But he's only passed 7 games. Among the quarterbacks that have only played 7 games, meaning have had their bye, he's first in the NFL, which is good on him. So talk to me about the fears of the Seattle offense.
Well, I think, you just kind of covered it pretty well. If you go and watch their last, 3 games, I watched the last 3. It looks like basically a highlight reel every time he's dropping back right now. Russell Wilson is playing as a passer as good as anybody I've ever seen. I'm talking Aaron Rodgers level good quality deep ball passes, throwing ropes 30 yards down the field to guys, hitting them on a dime. It's ridiculous how good of a quarterback he has become. After, frankly, he kind of had a down year or two there for a while, it felt like. But, they don't need to run the ball anymore. This is going to be a aired out kind of team. They don't really go down the center of the field either, from what I've noticed. It's a lot of stuff down the sides.
Yeah. Jamal, what do you think?
But I can't call it in terms of where they've been passing. I don't know that much. I do know personally, just because when I watch the Seahawks, I don't care about the run game. I know they can. I'm talking about when Lynch played. I don't really care about the run game. I knew Lynch was going to get the ball more than not, but I really like watching Russell Wilson because I liked him out of college, and I just knew him as a quarterback, and I thought that he was one of the most dynamic quarterbacks coming out. And I didn't expect the Redskins to get him, but when the Seahawks signed him, I knew he was going to be a problem for Matt Flynn. And he showed that in the preseason, and it was a wrap ever since. Point is, this guy is he's the exact reason why they're not really worried about not having a run game. Even though it's a problem, and you always want a quarterback to have as much balance as possible because you don't always need to have a quarterback do everything for that offense. He's the person who's really capable of doing that. He's one of the few that's capable of doing that. Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, and Russell Wilson. There's others I can't think of right now, but those are the 3 that pop.
Those are the ones at the top. Drew Brees,
that too. But I mean, they have a running game, and I was just talking about like mobile guys.
You're talking about
these guys,
quarterbacks who can scramble for 20, 30 yards.
Yeah. Well, fair
50,
enough.
50 yards
fair
a game,
enough.
things like that.
Certainly those guys.
I'll
are the
actually
top
tell
ones.
you could easily put Kirk Cousins on that list. He's shown the ability.
Yeah, you almost, because the only
He's
reason
not
why
nearly
I
as
would,
athletic as those guys.
let's say the only reason why I would hesitate is because he's reluctant to run the ball. So my point is like he's just one of those guys where he can actually do it. And we're facing a quarterback this week where if they don't have a run game, like an actual run game, it doesn't matter because when he drops back to pass, we're going to have problems containing this man. He pulls a rabbit out of a whatever that phrase is. Y'all know
rabbit out of a hat.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's an idiom, as you will.
An idiom. Yeah. Thank you for the correction, Steve. So you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. He does it very often, and he does it at least
Dare
3
I
or 4
say
times
this?
a game.
We shouldn't let the inmates run the asylum, or should I not go there?
Yeah, that's also an idiom.
So yeah,
I didn't.
it's basically it's really on Russell Wilson this weekend. We're gonna have a problem stopping.
Yeah,
him.
we are. And just to give you guys an idea, I mean his primary targets: Doug Baldwin, Jimmy Graham, Tyler Lockett, Paul Richardson. Those are the guys that are getting almost all of his balls. I mean,
I was surprised to
these
hear
tight
rumors
ends-
that they were trying to trade Graham, though.
Yeah, I heard that. I think that's crazy. He's got 28 receptions on the year, and the Redskins famously, of course, are terrible in, covering tight ends, particularly if Zach Brown is hurt and Mason Foster's out. And so those are the guys who we need to watch out for. Tyler Lockett, Doug Baldwin, Jimmy Graham, Paul Richardson. Between the 4 of those guys, they've got almost every ball.
Right. Now, Cloud of Optimism, hopefully we'll have both Norman and Breland on the field. I mean, it sounds like, I know Breland was limited today, but, it sounds like he should be able to come back.
He's going to be back. And Josh Norman is a week better with the ribs. I mean, I think you're right. The bigger problem, really, injury-wise, is safety.
Right, because we're down to 3 healthy safeties right now.
That's including D'Angelo Hall, right?
No.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out. No, I was going to point that out. The 3 is including D'Angelo Hall because the healthy ones are DJ Swearinger, and if you want to call DeShazer Everett healthy, I mean he's on the injury list. That's really it because Monte Nicholson is more hurt with 2 separate shoulder injuries. It was limited practice. The interesting point is that oh gosh, I forgot who the reporter is. One of the local sports reporters caught D'Angelo Hall on tape saying he thought he was going to play this Sunday. Now, what that means is he is under the impression the team is going to activate him from the PUP list, which they could because he's in the window, but that would mean that the team is going to have to make a corresponding roster move to clear up space for him. So, and we don't know if that's true. We don't know what that move could be.
Well, I did see a quote from Gruden's presser that he doesn't know if they can just because of the O-line injury situation.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it all depends on if maybe 1 or 2 guys can come and be healthy enough to play from the starters or Ty or somebody. But,
I mean, look, there's no getting around it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be very, very tough game on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
Particularly, though, I think, for the reasons Jamal stated, primarily, particularly on the Redskins' defensive side of the ball. I mean, the idea that this beat-up defense with major questions along the defensive line and now middle linebacker position, the idea that we're going to slow Russell Wilson down is a long shot at best.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how else to say it.
You have to keep him contained in the pocket as best you can. That's going to be number one because he'll kill us all day if he can get outside and just start running. But, that alone won't stop him from throwing it all over the place.
No.
So,
no.
It's gonna come down to, luckily, 2 of the places were healthy-ish, which are the outside linebackers and the corners, I feel like.
Well, what I would say, though, too, I don't know what the status is in terms of, well, we won't know until Sunday. But if Breland is playing along with Norman didn't even give up a catch on Sunday.
He was really good against Dez and others. Yeah.
I think they
And
also just were trying to keep it away from him. Why?
Yeah, but if you looked at the coverage he was providing, he was blanketing those guys. I thought he had a very good game.
No doubt.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, he's the best player. Why would you even throw that way?
Yeah, that's true. Go ahead against Dunbar and others. But so yeah, what I'm saying is though, if Breland is playing, it goes in our favor too. And when you have Breland, Norman, Fuller, and then the secondary, the gang all back together back there, it does benefit. Excuse me, it does benefit the front seven as well. So if if Monte is able to play, and you have the regular starting secondary back there, you're able to do a lot more with the front seven because of the fact that you have your best unit back there. You trust them to get the job done. You trust them to communicate well. You trust them to play certain ways, and you can have pressure sent and Russell Wilson and however which way you want them. So it does benefit that if Breland is able to play, you can do a lot more. Even though Dunbar has played well, credit given to him. But,
Right. I would actually, if we're short on safeties, I wouldn't mind Dunbar being a backup safety for a game or two.
Dude, you know what? I feel so bad for that kid. I mean, I don't know if he's the right guy for that. I mean, he's learning how to be a corner. Now you want to throw him in as a safety. I'd rather activate D'Angelo Hall than do that to Dunbar personally.
Well, I'm saying if we can't activate Hall and we have to have just three guys, maybe making him the fourth.
Well, yeah, if it's
An emergency
it's an all hands on deck kind of situation. Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I just love everything he brings to the table when he's out there.
I mean, the problem, of course, with having such a secondary that can play well like that is when you couple it with a defensive line with major holes. You have a mobile quarterback like Russell Wilson. He's going to run wild. Odds are, if I had to guess, I would assume that street free agent Arthur Jones, who we signed this week, is probably going to get a ton of playing time. And the man, he may be able to play, but the man's not been playing football this year, So I wish him the best. I hope he does well for us. But, that's not conducive to containing a guy who's an ultra mobile quarterback
Jones
like
is
Russell
what,
Wilson.
a DT?
Yeah, interior guy. This is the new Matt Ioannidis. You're gonna have to learn to have a crush on him instead of Matt Ioannidis.
All right, that's
Alex.
fine. I'll figure it out.
Man, that's
All
just so
right.
unfortunate. One week we got Jonathan Allen go down out for the season, and then a couple weeks later, your boy Matt Ioannidis, who's had a hell of a season so far too.
Yeah, when you have two very young, talented linemen, and now you're back to having Ziggy Hood on the field.
Well, never fear. Stacey McGee and Terrell McClain are going to pick it up. Don't worry.
Is Ioannidis out for a year too? I don't even remember.
No. The status of Ioannidis is he has a broken bone in his hand. It's going to require surgery. They are hopeful that he's going to be able to play with a cast like John Jansen.
Oh, so he can have the surgery and then just put a cast on it and play.
Well,
Correct.
but that probably means surgery this weekend or in the next few days. Probably misses next week too, would be my guess.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. He's going to miss next week. You're not going to play in an NFL football game with a broken hand a week old. That's just not going to happen, no matter how tough he is. Okay. Do we have anything else to say on defense?
Nope.
Well,
well, what are we going to do about I guess inside linebacker if Spate's hurt and Fuller's hurt?
Jay already said. The inside linebacker is going to be a rotation between Will Compton and Martrell Spate, and so if Spate is hurt, obviously Will Compton's going to get the bulk of the playing time. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be like that for the rest of the year. So just get used to, for those of you out there who hate Will Compton, get used to the Will Compton show.
Man,
that's what we do.
Will Compton has more haters, I think, than almost anybody on the team.
Undeserved, too. I mean, I realize he's limited in some respects, but he's a smart guy, football-wise, and he does try hard. I mean, you could do worse than Will Compton.
Oh, sure.
I like the guy.
We've done worse than Will Compton.
We have to. Yeah, you're right. We have done worse than Will Compton. You're exactly right. Okay. So that's defense. Now, of course, I took it on myself to whip through the Redskins pregame release package that they sent out because there's always interesting stuff in there. So I'm not going to ask you a bunch of trivia questions, but I'm going to run a couple stats by you guys. Number one is the Redskins entered the game ranked tied for second in the NFL with 30 points on first possessions, meaning they are very good on the first possession of the game. And I'm going to remember that because I'm going somewhere with that. Chris Thompson, in case you guys didn't realize what an amazing year he's having, the Redskins highlighted this stat this week. He is third for all running backs since 2000 in receiving yards in games 1 through 7, if that makes sense. Marshall Faulk, number one at 494 yards. Charlie Garner, 449 yards, and Chris Thompson. So that's pretty good company. Another thing, if we happen to win this game, Jay Gruden gets his 25th career win. So that's that. But the reason why I brought up this first quarter thing is this. First possession thing. If you look at the breakdown of the Seahawks scoring, the bulk of their scoring is coming in the third and fourth quarter. 48 points in the third quarter, 67 points in the fourth quarter, compared with the Redskins, who have loaded up in primarily the second quarter. Second quarter's been our friend.
Right, we're a first half team right now.
Yeah, and we get smoked in the second half, and we're playing a team that is outstanding in the second half. So that really doesn't bode well.
I think we're worse too. Before you continue, I think we're worse in 2-minute situations in both second and fourth quarter, which is actually worse for us as well, because even though they play better in the second half, we also don't play good in the second in 2-minute situations in either half.
We really haven't done anything all year in those situations.
No. Well, I mean, I think that ties into the whole lack of a wide receiving core.
Well, and I mean, you could, some of the Kirk Cousins has to shoulder some of the blame for that too.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that they all kind of tie together.
If you want, I'm not going to read all this, but we'll end this stat thing with a couple on a positive note. I have two positive things. Number one, the Redskins happen to be third best in the NFL at 3-and-out drives, meaning they've had they've only gone 3-and-out in 16.5% of their possessions, which is third in the NFL.
You mean on
so
offense?
That's good.
The Redskins offense?
On offense, yeah,
okay.
Right. The Redskins offense does not do third and 3-and-out very often. And then the final one, which is good, guess what team is number one in the NFL in third and long situations on offense?
The Redskins.
Yeah.
No, it's got to be the Redskins. Alex is right.
I knew that one I'd see
that.
We're the best team in third and long situations.
Yeah, like third and plus 7, I think is what it is.
It's third and 6. It's third and plus 6 and over. The Redskins have converted on 39.5% of those, which is tops in the NFL. So if you want a positive, that's it. And then the last thing here is that the man who actually happens to be leading the NFL right now in yards per catch is, say it all together,
Chris Thompson.
Vernon Davis.
Oh, damn it.
Tight end and ageless wonder Vernon Davis is leading the NFL right now in yards per catch. So,
do they got the number?
Yeah, it's 18.4.
Okay,
that's pretty darn good.
Which is that's up there at Deshaun Jackson level.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. That sounds just like Deshaun Jackson.
Well, and now we have a tight end doing it.
We've hit him on like 4 seam routes where he's just running right down the field, and that's probably a big. I mean, obviously that's a big part of it.
And let me tell you something, kids. We're gonna have to do that again this weekend. Do we want to do predictions? We have to do predictions.
Well, I wanted to really quickly at least.
Let's save that for the end. Let's save that. Let's do predictions and then address what you're about to.
Got it.
Let's do predictions. Who wants to go first? Don't make me pick. Somebody speak up.
I'll go first because I'm not feeling good about this game. I'm not feeling good about the season. I really think we should have been sellers at the deadline and gotten rid of a few guys for some draft picks, some senior guys who might not have been back. So I'm guessing the Redskins lose this one. It's not even close to. It's going to be something like 35-14. I think we just get our asses kicked.
Okay. I'll go next because let's save Jamal for the end because he seems to be better at this than you and I are, Alex.
Well, shoot, not the last 2 weeks. I've been terrible.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Maybe we need to have me go last. Anyway, no, I think it's going to be. I'm along the lines of Alex. What score did you predict?
35-14.
35-14. I don't think it's going to be quite that bad. I think we're looking at something along the lines of 31-20.
All right.
It's a loss, though.
Well,
Jamal.
look, here's the thing. I'm going to the game, as I told you guys. So I rebuke all that negative energy that you guys were spewing on this here show tonight. I rebuke it. Anyway, with that being said, regardless if I sound delusional, I refuse to go out there thinking that we're going to get our ass handed to us. So with that being said, I think it'll be, if we don't win, it'll definitely be within a possession towards the end of the game. But seeing as how knowing that we do give up a lot of points recently, we do give up a lot of points, not a lot of yards. That's where we got better at, but we do give up a lot of points. I see it being a high scoring game. Probably in Seattle terms, a high scoring game. Probably like 27-24. I won't say who a winner is because I think it'll go either way, especially since I'm going to be at the game. So
okay, let me ask you this, Jamal.
You can discredit me all you want to. I'll accept that, but I'm not going to say who's going to win. I'm just going to say 27-24. It'll be a close game.
I'm going to put my attorney hat on here. Under the hypothetical let's give you a hypothetical.
Yep.
Hypothetically, if you were not going to the game, and therefore you were not afraid of drowning yourself in negative energy and having to be in CenturyLink Field with a bunch of crazy Seahawks fans, would you have predicted a 27-24 game anyway? If you're watching it from your couch,
I would have thought that. Knowing the Redskins, the way this season is shaped up, we've been in every single game. Like they pulled away the opposing teams in games that we lost. They pulled away like late in the fourth quarter. So I'd say we've been in every game. So I would say maybe I think it would probably have been a little bit of a larger deficit. Maybe 10 points, 27-17 or 27-20. But I think it would have been close to the fourth quarter. You just have to see how it plays out at that point. So I mean, I probably would have.
Okay.
If I was staying home, I probably would have thought they probably would have had a larger margin of victory.
And who knows? Maybe you're going to be a good luck charm for them. Maybe the fact that you're there is going to be good luck for the team. Let's hope.
Well, I hate to break it to you guys, and I hate to say this on air, but on the road, I am 0-1. So
that's not really a trend, at least.
I know that's not really trend data. That's just one data point.
It is one data point, but I keep records.
All right.
So, you guys are right, but I'm 0-1. That's the only thing I can say.
All right. Well, let's hope you turn into 1-1. We do want to address one final thing before we sign off for the night here, and that is that Jimmy Garoppolo has actually been traded to the San Francisco 49ers, and that could very well impact Captain Kirk and where he goes next year. So, Alex, I know you're dying to speak up. So, Alex, give us your thoughts on this trade.
I think the reaction I saw from the fan base was a lot of people seemed overwhelmingly happy that this means Kirk almost it's like you took away his best option to make a big-time splash in free agency. I don't know if that's really the case. I still think there's going to be plenty of teams who want Kirk Cousins at the end of this season if we don't somehow get a deal done. But it is kind of interesting how, for all the stuff we hear in the press and guys like Jason Reed saying he's counting down the days he'll go to San Francisco, it's a done deal, and suddenly Garoppolo's there. Just keep in mind that the media, the talking heads, the guys who are calling up these teams all times with inside info, they don't always get the right info. They have no idea what's going on
half the time.
Yeah. They're just shooting in the dark most of the time. So,
yeah. Well, especially Jason Reed, for God's sake.
Oh, yeah. I have no doubt he had a source tell him something. But
do we need to remind people why we formed this show in the first place?
It was to make fun of Jason Reed.
Yeah. If Jamal doesn't know that, because he wasn't with us in the beginning,
didn't.
The reason why we kept this from the public for the longest time because we didn't want to irritate the beat writers, but I think it's safe to say now we have enough credibility. The genesis of this show was to see if we could do better than Jason Reed on the air because he had that horrible show with
the Man Cave,
the comedy guy.
Yeah,
and that show was so awful.
That guy who blocked us, by the way.
Yeah, he did. He did instantaneously blocked us. Our idea was to see if we could do better than those two guys with absolutely no training, insight, or experience whatsoever, and it turns out we have.
Right. Well, I mean, technically, one of them's working for ESPN now, so they've got that over us. But
Yeah, boo. Who cares?
Yeah.
We're better.
Yeah,
now.
but anyway, I think it. I was a little surprised by the trade. You don't see quarterbacks get traded mid-season, but I think
Bill
it does.
Belichick, though.
Yeah,
It's Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
He's a crazy man
It
when it
is.
comes to that stuff.
but yeah, I just wanted to mention that reporters have no idea.
They don't. And I keep saying, everybody asks me this off air and whatnot. I keep telling them the same thing. Kirk Cousins is going to go to the team that pays him the most money. All this other nonsense about wants to go hook up with, hook up with Kyle Shanahan, which isn't going to happen now, or something else. All of it is garbage. Is absolute garbage and hoo-ha. It's the only thing that matters is what team is going to pay him the most money. He may have great thoughts about it now, but when you back a Brinks truck up to somebody's front door, it speaks wonders. And I would bet the house on him taking the biggest contract, and that's
Unless
as simple as
maybe it's the Browns.
that. Maybe then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he probably stay away from them. He's gonna get more. He's gonna get better offers anyway, so it don't even matter.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Jets, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm hearing
two off
the
top of your head.
Steelers, even if Roethlisberger retires, would be a good
Steelers, maybe.
candidate.
Yeah. So.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah,
we don't want to beat
it too. My bad, but I was thinking about the Steelers situation as well. A lot of people don't think that they make a move in free agency for a quarterback, but no, they never been presented an opportunity like Kirk Cousins in free agency, which is why. And they also had Big Ben for 13 years. They don't need to worry about a free agent quarterback. That's why.
It'd be a heck of a pickup for the Steelers and a great situation for Kirk.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, we don't want to beat that dead horse in the ground too much because it's too depressing. So I think we're going to end it here. You heard it here first. We've predicted 2 losses, and Jamal's going to stick to his guns and predict 27, 24. Does anybody else have anything before we sign off?
Yeah. I just wanted to say, because I haven't adjusted because of we've been talking about it off air, but in terms of those who listen to all 32, it's really just my situation. I've started school. I think 2 months ago. I started school 2 months ago, and I got a different work schedule. So it's not done. It's just been shut down for the moment. I've been unable to keep up with it by myself. So this has been helping me with the hog side, but I haven't been able to produce and do things for all 32. So once my schedule stables and all that type of stuff, we'll be back and running. I didn't expect it to shut down temporarily, but I mean it happens. I had things to do in my actual real life, so we'll be back on it though.
I think you ought to be ashamed of yourself for not putting an unpaid job ahead of life.
Look, you know what? You gotta.
And with that. Yeah, see, I know. Every once in a while I come up with a good one. And I think that's going to be all for today, folks. So we'd like to thank you for listening. Alex, where can they find you on Twitter?
Alex35332 at Twitter, and that's the only place you'll find me.
And Jamal, you are at
_AYYMALL.
And I am nowhere to be found on Twitter.
We gotta get you on Twitter on your
also
own
known as at the Hog Side is where you can find me.
Yeah, thank you. That's where you can find me. Please don't listen to Alex. Don't try and track me down. And that's it. So we're gonna call it a show. We'll see you guys next week.